Hey guys, Trisha Hershberger here, and a few years ago, I was lucky enough to be invited to LAIKA Animation Studio in Oregon to check out the making of the Box Trolls. Their animation is simply beautiful, and it was really cool to see. So this year, when they invited me back to witness how they made their newest film, Kubo and the Two Strings, I thought, I have to share this. So here it is. Please note this is not a sponsored video. Focus Features offered to fly me to LAIKA, and I said, yes please, and here's what I saw.
The most important part of a stop-motion puppet is the armature. It's essentially a skeleton, and we engineer them in all different sizes.
And this is an additional armature for the costume, and then cutaways to create a weakness, so it will always fold in those same areas every time he bends his elbow.
All animated movies have sculptures. They're called maquettes. And of course, this is the final puppet from this maquette, so you can see how important they are as a style guide. This is actually fur fabric with silicone and then trimmed in style with the whole movie, with the ability to handle it and it springs back. To then turning into these feathered wings and anime action shots. This is actually a lattice work of piano wire, so they are sliding on themselves, and there's 183 feathers on each cape. Oh, it's all easy in stop motion, but that's what makes it so special.
Really cool lids that can independently move. The animator will be using an X-Acto blade, pretty unnerving, and then they can sort of rotate that lid and then they put the face. So the way that we do facial animation here at LAIKA is through what we call replacement animation. You take a slightly different expression or a different sculpt, you take an image of that, replace it with a slightly different expression. So once you start knitting all those images together, you get the sense of movement. Norman had about 1.4 million. The eggs from Box Trolls had about 1.5 million. All that goes to just show how far we've come, how much emotion can put into these inanimate objects as we bring them to life. We were actually printing the faces in 2 different segments, but then we had to hand paint each individual face. It was pretty laborious, and we worked towards using a color 3D printer. 3 characters in particular threw us for a loop: monkey, beetle, and moon beast. All these little hairs are going to break off and they're not going to be consistent. We had made quite a name for ourselves in the 3D printing industry, which meant that we could reach out to 3D printing companies. Hey, what do you guys have in the works? And there was one company in particular called Stratasys who did have a plastic 3D printer, but the software was not going to give us the sophistication we needed. So during the course of the production of Kubo, we were producing plastic color 3D printed parts that literally no one else in the world had the technical capabilities of doing. Because we were taking our proprietary software and Stratasys' machine and combining them, we had a really unique combination.
Going into Paranorman, we started talking about creating hybrid films, because not everything can be built, not everything can be animated. Let's embrace technology, embrace it in a way that is ultimately respectful of the stop motion art, and make the films we want to make, tell the stories that we want to tell. We got started in Paranorman. We did some set extensions, we did some CG crowds, and then when we got to the 4th film, Kubo, we were looking at a story that was epic. It was beyond anything we had ever done previously here at LAIKA.
It's huge. And the reason we had to build this big is because of the connectivity, and they're crawling all over this guy. You can actually see, if you stand back here on the very top of the head in amongst the swords, you can see a small scale hand zone.
Yeah.
And again, I'm pretty sure that was the largest scale difference with characters in a movie. And if you can see above this hand here, you've got that 3-way junction box there that always has its centre of gravity over the hand. The arms are loose from the shoulders, because a regular puppet we would just tighten the shoulders and tighten the elbows, and then they can hold their own arms out. His wingspan is a little over 22 feet, so he's pretty heavy, and plus if he's holding a puppet, there's a lot of weight there, so he can't hold that weight. It's essentially all loose from the shoulders outwards, so if you grab the hand, you can move it, you get that passive animation.
This is our underwater monster for Kubo. There are 6 or 5 of these that are surrounding this grotesque undulating mouth bowl. So we started there, and then we thought, well, we've got to build 6 of these, or do we build 1 and then shoot it from multiple angles and then position in post? What we ended up doing was basically building a robot. They can move the shoulders and the hips and gently roll it towards you or away from you, or something like that. And you can move it a little bit. There you go. And instead of the animator posing the puppet in a very traditional manner with balls and sockets, they can actually position the tentacles through a series of motors, and this is a cable actuated tentacle, so we can get this swimming motion, and that's all recordable, and we can play it back and we can change it without the animator having to interfere with the actual puppet.
We like to make every show individual in its look and feel. We have an established 42 inches. Generally the right height. Puppets are generally in the 9 to 17-inch range. We also have to make sure that the shots are going to work within that set. We're shooting wide, the animator can be back here, but if we have to move a character over there and punch in, the set has to pull apart, the animator can get up close, and then the set has to go back together for whatever other shot.
Probably the coolest part of this visit for me was hearing about how they were able to combine new advances in 3D printing with traditional stop-motion animation techniques to create truly expressive characters. I almost hate that the animation looks so good now that I forget the hard work that goes into it. It will never cease to amaze me. Thank you so much to Focus Features and LAIKA for the exclusive invite. You guys rock my socks. Also, guys, I did get a chance to see an advanced screening of Kubo and the Two Strings, and I have not been so moved by a movie in years. It blew me away. If you are at all into animation or just heartwarming stories, I encourage you to go check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.